Today we're going to talk about how to pick colors to convey a mood, and you can do this with a limited palette. So let's get started. So this is a pretty conventional photograph, and you can screenshot this and use it if you want to. This is in my neighborhood here in Vermont, and I've painted the scene a few times. And typically I would paint it using these kinds of colors, kind of bright colors. Although these days I don't paint quite this bright anymore, but you get the idea. But what I wanted to do today was use different colors to create a mood, because sometimes you want to create a mood in your paintings. So the first thing I do is try to find a sufficient triad to use. That's Prussian blue, and I'm going to use a quinacridone sienna and something else. What was it? I can't remember what the other thing was. Probably a burnt sienna. So those would be the primaries. I'm looking at those as being a red, a blue, and a yellow. And now I'm going to mix the secondary colors to see what they look like and see if they're sufficient. So you see, what I'm trying to do is I want to have a somber looking painting rather than bright and exuberant, just because that's what I wanted to do today. And sometimes that's what you want to do, depending on what the scene is that you're going to paint. So between my yellow and my red, there's an orange. That looks pretty okay. Now I'm going to mix another secondary and see what happens. And I think I end up not being very happy with the secondaries that I get. Yeah, that typically if you mix a red with a blue, you're going to get a violet. And that's, those two canceled each other out. That's a brown for sure, a dark brown. And then between the yellow and the blue should be a green, but it's not. So that's kind of too somber for me. And I thought, okay, let's try again. So I started with yellow ochre, which is much more yellow than my first choice for yellow, using that same quinacridone sienna and Prussian blue. Those are the same as what I used above. Now I'm going to mix the secondaries and see what happens. And that'll give me the idea. It'll tell me what the temperature of my painting is going to be. Otherwise, I just don't know. The reason I don't know is because this is not a triad that I typically use. There's the orange, and that looks pretty good. There's the green. At least it looks like a green instead of a brown. And now between the Prussian and the burnt sienna should be a violet. Well, that's not a violet, but it's clearly a nicer choice. So that's the triad I'm going to use. And I just wanted to demonstrate how you pick three colors. If you're going to use a limited palette, pick three colors and find the secondary colors. And this is the one I'm going to use. And I leaned this way again because I wanted to have kind of a somber looking painting. I didn't want it to be exuberant. Just a choice. You know, you always have a choice of what you want to do and how you want to do it. So I start right away. I always use 140-pound cold pressed paper, and that is a flat brush, probably a number 12. And the paper is Arches paper. And I've mixed up these colors already. So this is, of course, faster than I actually paint, and I'm simplifying forms. But what I did was I already mixed, and I always do this, I already mixed all, especially in a small painting like this, I'll mix up all the colors that I need ahead of time, because and always mix up more paint than you think you need, because the paper is kind of a sponge. It will absorb a lot of the water. So I didn't dry in between things, which I sometimes or pretty much often do, but today I felt pretty free to just go at it, because this is a demo, and because even I was kind of curious to see what would happen. Again, because I'm not, and what I always say is I'm not matching to the photograph. You know, I never match to the photograph, but in other words, in terms of color, but because there's so much gray in a photograph, but I do match value to the photograph. And in this case, I chose a more somber choice of values than I would normally choose. And it gives more of a variety to your painting, because sometimes you'll put your paintings up on the wall and you'll think, wow, they kind of, not a whole lot of variety here. You know, you can get locked into stuff. So sometimes it's really nice to venture outside what you usually do and pick three colors, find the secondaries, and then go at it. And especially go at a scene that you've done before. I searched high and low to find this scene so I could put that in this video so you could see the way I would normally paint it, but I couldn't find it. So I used that other barn as an example of a really bright, it's a very bright example compared to this one, which is a more somber example. So that's an example of how to pick colors for a mood. Remember to keep the whites of your paper white, your paints wet, and as for value mix for color, please join my YouTube channel And if you have any questions, please let me know. See you next time. Bye-bye.